This is Thomas Schiffer for ESFI. I am here on day 2 of the WCS North American Finals, and I'm joined by Liquid Snute. Snute, how you doing right now?
I'm doing fine, thanks. I'm a little bit sad about not getting 5th place, but it's okay.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that series against Alicia. It was a close series and went all the way to Game 5. Specifically, I'd like to talk to you about Game 3, which was kind of like really wacky. There was lots of Niduses and base trades and resets of the game almost. Let's talk a little bit about that game and how your use of Niduses actually won you that game, I guess.
It has to do when you play against Skytoss. The Sky army is just too powerful, and so you need a strong composition. But Zerg's strongest compositions are also the slowest. So on a big map like Whirlwind, I feel that you have to use Nidus Worms in order to make something happen. So that's what I did.
So I talked to Moonglade yesterday, and he said that Void Rays are actually super powerful right now and really powerful. What are you doing besides using Niduses and stuff like that? What kind of counters do you see to like the mass Void Ray composition that Alicia has been using and other Protosses have been using?
It's actually become quite developed in the American and European scene how to counter it. I just didn't perform up to the best standards, but the optimal way to counter them, I mean, they obviously are very strong units, and Hydras, for example, are not so good.
Mm-hmm.
But just making infestors, spore crawlers, swarm host, and queens, and using vipers as well. You can even use vipers and corruptors. Works out pretty well.
You think queens are like the most optimal anti-air unit to use against the Void Rays because the charge doesn't affect them as much?
Yeah, and they have transfusions as well and better range. But at some point you will need infestors because too many Void Rays.
Right, and the fungals,
yeah,
key. All right, so let's change gears a little bit. You obviously stayed in Korea. You were playing in Pro League. You had a game in Pro League. Unfortunately, you lost to Free.
Yeah, but that's okay. First game is always tough.
Right. And so what was that experience like playing in Korea? And, you had a short stay there, and a lot of pro gamers say that to really get the benefits out of Korea, you need to stay there for a prolonged period of time. Do you feel like you got there was some benefit to your visit to Korea?
Yeah, I think after the first 2 weeks, maybe, I felt really strong improvement. And now I've been busy with the WCS and been flying a little bit back and forth. So I think that's affected my practice a tiny bit. So right now it's a bit difficult to tell, but I've only been there for a month. So I guess we need some more time to figure out where it's going.
Of course. Did you ever imagine yourself playing in such like a storied StarCraft league? Like Pro League's history goes back to like 2000, 2001. Has that affected you at all?
No, I don't really think that much about it. I wasn't watching Pro League, in the Brood War days. I only watched a couple of games, so I don't really think about that.
That's fair. So as the newest addition to Team Liquid, how are you fitting in with the rest of the team and your teammates?
Pretty well, I feel. In the beginning of the year, I spent a lot of time with the Europeans, TLO, Red, and now I'm spending time with the Koreans, and we're getting along well. So, yeah, it's really good.
Okay.
I like the team a lot.
So who do you think is the best player on Team Liquid right now, besides yourself?
I think Hero is the one with the best results, and Teja is also really good. So, but yeah, as for the European Zergs, the level is really close. But I think Hero is the one that performs the best, like, all across the board.
All right. Your teammate, Liquid Hero, is playing in the finals as we speak. Do you think he's going to take it against Revival?
I think so. Revival has been looking very strong, but I'm cheering for Hero.
Did you practice any ZVP with him? And
a little bit in-house, but nothing specific for the WCS.
Okay. So speaking of WCS, I mean, you decided to come play in North America. I think you were offered a premier seed in the tournament, so that obviously affected your decision. What do you think of the format? Do you think it's good for the scene? Do you think it's good for growth and stuff like that? And as a player, would you change anything if you could?
I don't know. It's not necessarily very good for the North American scene and for furthering local growth, because the Koreans and me as a European, we're just coming here and taking all the money, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I hope that there are more tournaments like the Shoutcraft America, for example.
Right.
Yeah. But overall, I think that the new WCS is very exciting. But I also miss, the 2012 edition with all the local stuff going on.
So do you think Blizzard needs to impose sort of stricter requirements and stricter rules on who can compete in which areas and which regions?
I don't know, the different approaches, and now we're going to have to follow this model for this year. So I don't know, but all in all, I think I prefer the 2012 edition better. But as for me personally, I prefer this one because I get more opportunities to play. There are more tournaments and more seasons. I find it a lot more exciting than just one tournament per year, like last time. So some good things and some bad things. But if the tournaments need a region lock, I'm not so sure. I just hope that every year region across the world also has local tournaments. I hope for many local tournaments to support growth in areas that might not have that developed scenes. It's one of the things that brought me into pro gaming. All the tournaments in Norway with quite significant prizes, and that enabled me to go full time. So it's really important to people to make full time gaming viable, you could say.
Yeah, it's a great answer. Um, so I know we talked a little bit about balance and stuff like that. What kind of players, like who are you looking at these days to inspire you in your play?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm looking at many different circs. I'm pretty much just looking at VODs from here and there and looking at my teammates play. So I don't have a specific player right now that I'm looking up to. So yeah, no answer, I guess.
All right. David Kim recently came out on the forums and said that he's looking at buffing War Prism speed and making it start with the speed buff. You seem a little apprehensive about answering this question. So what do you think? Do you think this is just going to be another tool in the Protoss arsenal that's going to be insanely difficult to deal with, or,
No, I think it's going to be okay. It's going to make it more difficult for Zerg because we need to deal with more and faster prisms. And with the fungal change, that fungal isn't instant now, it's going to be a little bit more tricky to catch them. But we do have Vipers and we do have mass static defenses and stuff. And if Zerg, by the time mass war prism becomes an issue, it's the late game with swarm host and all those things. So I think if Zerg just uses Nidus Swarms properly, it shouldn't be a problem.
So are you happy with all the additions to the Zerg race and Heart of the Swarm?
Yeah, I think it's nice. It's a lot better than just having Broodlords and Infestors.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think it's a lot more exciting, but personally, I need a lot more time to figure out how the different things, such as the Swarm host, work. I still make so many mistakes with them, so yeah, it takes a bit of time, but overall, I like the changes.
So one of the casters actually mentioned this quite a bit when you were playing against Protoss. You seem to have this unique ability to make the Hydra Roach Viper composition work so well. What do you think are the keys for you to use that composition to its full effectiveness?
To be honest, it's just a very easy to play composition. But I think what enables me to use it so well is that I macro quite well, so I can very easily get to 70 drones and get comfortable and just and I start my hive really early. I know the timings of the build, so it's just this really easy recipe, and I practice it a lot. So I think it's as simple as it's just a powerful build, and I know how to macro, and I've practiced it. So yeah.
So what's in the future? What future plans do you have? More stays in Korea, perhaps, or are you going back to Europe to stay for a little bit?
Gonna travel a lot back and forth. So yeah, you'll just have to stay tuned for the various tournaments that I'll appear on. Will be lots of traveling and also lots of practice in Korea. I really like staying in Korea. It helps my level a lot. So, but I'll try to attend as many tournaments as possible.
So just as a follow-up to that, it's interesting that you say that you like staying in Korea so much. A lot of foreigners have a hard time adjusting, the language, the food, and stuff like that. It sort of just comes as a culture shock to a lot of foreigners who stay in Korea. What is it you like so much about Korea? You just don't find it bothers you so much?
The food is great, and for the most part, all I do is just practice. But I settled in the house, and even though I don't speak Korean, I don't really put any effort into trying to learn it because it's too much of a project alongside pro gaming. But regardless, if there's anything, we always get the point across, regardless of the language barrier. And I don't really have any problems with loneliness or stuff like that. And now Stefano is coming to Korea as well, so that's gonna be nice. But I think maybe the other foreigners have been a little bit more lonely. Maybe they didn't like the food, stuff like that. Maybe they didn't like just sitting inside practicing all day. But to me, it's an environment that I'm comfortable with. I've been doing the same in Europe for the most part too. So I'm used to the training.
So did you have any interaction with Coach Park while you were there, standing in Korea? And
Yeah.
how was that?
It's really good. We talk together, and he's very supportive of me and helps me out, and always tells me things that I need to know about what's going on in the house, etc. So he's coaching me like he's coaching the other players, I guess.
That's great. All right, well, that's all the questions I have for you today, Snute. Thank you. If you'd like to give any shout-outs or thank yous.
Would like to thank my team and our sponsors, Racer, Twitch, Barracuda, and Shiny Things, for just giving me the opportunity to travel and be in Korea, because it means a lot to me. So I'm really grateful and thankful to them. And also huge thank you to all my fans who are cheering for me, even if I'm sometimes losing. But really happy about all the support from my fans. So thank you guys.
All right, thanks a lot, Snute.